Hello and welcome everybody. We will wait about 30 more seconds and then we'll get started. If you're just joining, feel free to share in the chat where you are calling in from. All right, we'll get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's wellness webinar on family well-being. My name is Anna Miller, and I'm the Wellbeing Program Manager with Healthier Together. And we'll be taking you through today's webinar. Just a few housekeeping things before we get started. This webinar is being recorded, and we have enabled the live transcript. The subtitles may be scrolling on the bottom of your screen. If you would like to hide those, you can just click on the more and hide subtitle, or you can show subtitle if they're not showing up for you. And then this slide deck will be sent out to all attendees after the webinar. We'll probably send it out tomorrow, and then we'll also be sharing the slide deck and the recording to Yammer, and we'll make sure you get everything that you need. Throughout today's webinar, if you have any questions at all, feel free to throw those questions in the chat. You can send it to everybody, or you can email any of the co-hosts on this webinar, and we can get back to you individually. If we don't have time at the end to answer all of your questions, we'll be sure to reach out individually, and we'll share any follow-up notes that we think everybody would benefit from. Before we get into today's content, I just wanted to remind everybody about Healthier Together. Healthier Together is your one-stop shop for everything wellness. It's your hub for all sorts of resources, programs, and it is at no cost to you as employees, so you can access this for free, and it's super easy to register if you haven't already, and you can track your steps, your activities, and you can also join in challenges, and you'll hear more about those upcoming challenges later on today. So here's the information for how to register. If you have not done so already, we really encourage you to take advantage of this awesome resource. So the importance of family well-being, why did we choose this topic today? We have heard from so many of you that you're really interested in learning more about how you can influence your own family well-being. Many studies are showing that family relationships greatly impact people throughout our lives. Coming from a wider lens, a kind of overarching view, family well-being is vital to thriving communities. Families who can make informed decisions, manage their basic needs, and tackle pressing human and community issues are better equipped to lead happy and healthy lives. A range of factors can affect family well-being, and investments in your own families contribute significantly to the social, psychological, and economic development in the communities that you live in. So the majority of what you'll hear today from our amazing team is their own personal experiences with their families, and you'll also hear about kind of what they've implemented at home and at work, what maybe hasn't worked so well for them, and what has worked well and what they love. I know there's a large population, maybe of people on this call right now that are interested in learning more about taking care of their parents. So you're a parent potentially, and you're taking care of then maybe your parents. Our team doesn't really have any personal experience or additional training in this area, so it won't be addressed today. However, we encourage you to contact the Medtronic Employee Assistance Program or Healthier Together to kind of work through those specific life situations. But before we begin, I encourage everyone to join me for a moment of mindfulness. So if you're multitasking, stop the multitasking, put your phone down, and close your eyes just for a minute and be still for a moment. I imagine that many of you here today are parents. Maybe you have kids on the way, or you're working through familial relationships of all kinds. Or maybe you're just interested in improving your own well-being. I'd like you to take a moment to thank yourself for being here today. You're here to improve your life and improve the lives of those around you. These are incredibly challenging times with changes at work, challenges at home, large global events. Things do get hard sometimes, and you need to thank yourself for being here today and give yourself permission to spend this time just for yourself. We hope that you find some new ideas, some resources to take into your lives. If you don't find some takeaways, at least have the acknowledgement that you're not in this on your own. There are so many other parents, colleagues, people in the world going through very similar things that you are. So go ahead and open your eyes and hopefully feel a little refreshed, ready to take on the rest of today's content. And I will turn things over to Laura.
Thank you, Anna. So my name is Laura. I'm one of the well-being specialists here for the Healthier Together team. And I am a mom, I am a wife. My kids are 9 and well, almost 9 and 6. And so today I'll be talking a little bit about children's emotional health and some resources that are free for everyone globally, and maybe some things that you haven't learned quite yet about emotional health of children. So children's emotional health and resources. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. Today, I will be mainly discussing emotional regulation and what to do when emotions get too big for not only our children, but for us as parents as well. It can be difficult to understand how to regulate emotions and what are normal emotional behaviors in children, because normal childhood development is a process that involves change. But there are resources, tips, and educational material to help both parents and children when those big emotions come up. So I just thought this was interesting. According to research by 2020, the research hasn't it was only by 2020, not following 2020. So by 2020, 5.6 million or 9.2% of the US population of children has been diagnosed with anxiety problems, and 2.4 million or 4% of children have been diagnosed with depression. If you do the math, that is 8 million children within the United States. If you're a parent, this may or may not surprise you. I feel that many children go undiagnosed, especially with the past 2 years that we've been having. And it would be interesting to see that research from 2020 to 2022. So, what can we do at home to help our children navigate emotional regulation? First, I'd like to mention virtual resources that are fun for both parents and children. My favorite are these two YouTube channels, Go Noodle and Cosmic Kids Yoga. The Go Noodle YouTube channel has a wide variety of not only emotional resources and videos, but also videos on stretching, mindfulness, and silly songs to engage physical activity. They also have a website, which the direct link will be shown on the next page, and other social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The Cosmic Kids YouTube channel is an engaging yoga, mindfulness, and relaxation for children. Here, you and your family can practice yoga among dinosaurs, characters from My Little Pony, or even in space. All right, some deep breathing exercises. Another resource to utilize at home with children to help regulate emotions is deep breathing. Deep breathing exercises help relax our bodies, refocus our minds, reduce stress and anxiety, lowers heart rate, and increases oxygen levels. Let's do one of those exercises together. It's just going to take about 2 minutes. And so, Anna, whenever you're ready.
Whales have a lot in common with people. They're very social, they take great care of their children, and they can be really affectionate.
Oh, they have a lot in common with moose, too.
Oh, yeah, Fabio. And they breathe air just like the both of us.
Oh.
So, right now, we're gonna do some whale breaths.
Okey-dokey.
To get your whale breath on, sit down.
Oh, yes, yes.
Sit up tall, take a deep breath in, then tilt your head up and put your hands around your mouth to make a blowhole, like a whale. Now, exhale out of the blowhole. Ready? Let's try one. All right, so now get nice and comfortable. Close your eyes or keep them open, whatever feels right to you. And let's do 7 whale breaths. Nice whale breaths. These breaths are great when you're feeling angry and you need to calm down.
I feel nice and calm. And now I want to give you another hug.
Aw, thanks, Fabio.
Ciao, my friends.
Whales have a lot in common.
And so, yes, so there is a great video, just many of them that they have. And of course, if you go back to the link, it'll be underlined. Yes, I love the whale breaths as well. It'll be underlined that says Go Noodle. So just click that link and it'll bring you to their website. Okay. Books geared towards emotional well-being can take your child through a variety of emotions from anger, sadness, jealousy, happiness, and social situations like new siblings, bullying, and others. As your child reads or hears a book and relates to the character in the story, they are better able to learn and experience more emotional skills and new ways to cope with emotional responses to change. Me and my kids have The Way I Feel, and it's wonderfully illustrated. We have quite a few books about feelings. Yes, a little spot of worry. Yeah, those are great too. I need to get more of a little spot. Books can help us understand that all feelings are valid. Feelings can change. Sometimes it's possible to have more than one feeling about the same experience. It's okay to feel differently than someone else about the same experience. What different emotions feel or look like, and how to appropriately express our emotions. All right. Another great visual is our emotional thermometer. Emotional thermometers can help children visually identify their emotions and the level of intensity. This is important because it helps them identify the appropriate time to implement a calming strategy. It also helps children show adults where their emotional intensity is, especially if it's difficult to verbally express or articulate or explain their emotion.
Sorry, Laura, 1 minute. I just had to reshare.
No, that's totally fine.
Glitchy.
Yes, no, that's totally fine. Okay, fabulous. Oh, wonderful, thank you. And so, especially I have a child who had some learning difficulties and verbal communication difficulties and lots of speech therapy. And so having a visual, like printing this off on your fridge or in your child's room, is a really great visual indicator, and they can show you where they're feeling on this thermometer and when it's time to implement a calming strategy. And here is just another example of a feeling thermometer. This one, it gets a little bit more in depth, so it might be more appropriate for your older children, so they can see where their level is at, happy and calm right at the bottom, and then very angry, frustrated, explosive, and what you can do about it. And so I love these examples about what you can do when you're feeling those different levels, those different temperatures. All right. Lastly, let's talk about some visual and physical strategies to help with those big emotions. So some calming strategies. Calming strategy cards can help children work through big emotions by giving them the tools to recognize, talk, and help manage feeling emotionally overwhelmed. You can find 23 free calming strategy cards by using the link below. I suggest printing them out, cutting and laminating them. They can be placed on a wall in your home or held together with a ring and used as cards to flip through when needed. It's important when using these calming cards to talk to children about feelings and different options of calming down. Ask children which strategy they would like to try first. Encourage children to use their chosen strategy in emotionally overwhelming situations and explore different strategies that might not be included. And so again, if you click that link below, it should pop up in a PDF that will be enable you to print off some of these wonderful calming strategies. I think they're really fun, even for me, when I'm feeling overwhelmed or frustrated or stressed. I look through these and I'm like, oh yeah, I should jump, or maybe I should run a little bit or push something that's very heavy. And so they're great not only for us, but our children as well. How do I get a copy of the present? Yes. Leah, we are going to send out the slide deck to all of the participants at the end. So don't worry about that. And so those were just a few of things that I implement with my kids. Of course, there are lots of different ways you can implement calming strategies or emotional thermometers or helping them better understand their emotions. But hopefully this is just a great takeaway for all of you out there.
All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are calling in from. My name is Amanda Patterson. I'm also on the Global Healthier Together team. I've been with Medtronic for about 8 years, and this is a picture of my kids. So I am also a mom, a wife, a sister, a friend, a manager. But yeah, I just wanted to show you my kids so you can see we have a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 3-year-old who all play sports, who are all in activities. My husband and I both work full time, and we have additional little side jobs as well. So we are the definition of a busy family. So I'm going to kind of just step on in and talk to you guys a little bit about stress and burnout and schedules and what we can do as parents to help not only us, but our kids as well. All right, I was in a summit a couple weeks ago, and it was about leadership and management in the workplace. And this one really stood out to me, that 33% of working parents are turning down promotions right now. And I'm sure you guys have all heard of, 2021, I think, was considered the year of the Great Resignation, when so many people have left the workforce. And I don't quite know the percentage of what that was of people leaving to be at home with their kids, but I can guess that that was a high one. So I think right here, what this is showing us too, is that parents are really overwhelmed right now. We are constantly hearing this word of work-life balance, of stress and being overwhelmed, but yet a lot of us are sitting here thinking, like, what can I do about this? I mean, I'm a living definition of this as well. And so we've really had to make some changes at home, not only at home, but with work as well. One other thing about this too, another stat that they talked about was that 65% of employees are feeling really stressed right now and aren't sharing it with their manager. I think this is one simple takeaway that we can take from this right now, is that if you're feeling this, whether you're a parent or not, but if you are feeling really stressed and overwhelmed in your career, is that we need to bridge that gap and open up these communications so that we are being really open and honest with our manager, with our leaders on our team, so that they can understand and maybe see some of these signs of stress and burnout that we're going to talk about here in a second. Next slide. All right, so you really don't need to raise your hand, but if you want to raise your hand, but simple question is, are you feeling stressed right now? Are you stressed at home and at work, or one or both or the other? My hand is really high. I was just telling my team right before this that my eye glitches when I get stressed, and I'm feeling it today. And over the last couple days, I'm sure not only, it doesn't matter if you're a parent or not, we're feeling this like extra, I don't even know, guilt, stress, the pressures of the world are on our shoulders right now. And part of me feels even guilty sitting here talking about thinking about what I can do at home when I want to make such a big worldly impact too. And so I feel that we're all feeling this stress right now. But what I want to talk about too is, this concept of burnout. And, we talked about before is with parenting and work is that so many people are feeling this high intense pressure of it all. And really, we're not meant to do it all. So we have to start compartmentalizing this and figuring out, okay, what is needed? What can I physically do to help myself and my kids so that we're not feeling this? So just a couple signs of burnout is emotional exhaustion. That's maybe that you've just been caring for something for too long and nothing is changing. So emotionally, there's nothing left in your tank. Or lack of empathy. Is there something that you know that you should care about right now, but you simply can't get there? That again, it's just this kind of empty feeling. That's another sign. Another sign, and this is actually the most popular one for men, is a decreased sense of accomplishment. So men, they want to be providers, and that's just a basic trait of them. I experienced this with my husband as well. He's a hard worker, but I know when he's on the verge of this is when he's coming home after a long day and feeling like, oh, well, nothing that I do matters. So are we getting to this point? And I was listening to a podcast and I thought this was such a good explanation of burnout, is that it's like you're in a pie eating contest where the reward is a slice of pie, where it's just this rat race of going around over and over and over again, but feeling like there's no escape. I think of the movie Matilda, where that little boy is eating that, slice of chocolate cake, and then she brings over the whole entire thing, where there's no ending. And so what we need to do as parents, because I think not only are we feeling this is burnout, but so are kids. I mean, I think about when I was a kid. I mean, I'm in my mid-30s, but I was able to play multiple sports throughout the year. I could try basketball, I could try volleyball. And now kids, by the time they're 9 years old, like my son, is truly feels like he's expected to have already picked one sport and play year round. I mean, talk about burnout that we're introducing to our kids at a very, very young age already. So how can we go about them and really help us and our kids? Go to the next slide. So decreasing stress at home starts with us parents. It really, really does. So we're going to get into how we can do this with the next slide. So here are 3 tips for you to take that I can honestly say I have done every single one of these and have helped me so much over the last 2 years, especially. So number 1 is doing a schedule audit. And I suggest that you start with this for yourself. Maybe you and your significant other start with doing a schedule audit. And what that is you sit down and you look at your calendar, and the only question that you have to ask yourself is, does this bring me joy? If the answer is maybe, or you're not quite sure, then it's a no. All right. If it's not, yes, this brings me joy, things that bring you joy should absolutely be part of your schedule. But if there are things, and I'm sure you all have it, where you've committed to it and you're going and it is a drain sucker, yes, Marie Kondo for your calendar, exactly. Then these are things that you have to be willing to part with and let go. I will use a personal example for this. Some of you may have seen me around before. I was on site at Mounds View for a very long time teaching classes. That is one of my passions. That's something that brings me joy. I love being in front of people and on a microphone and helping people. But during COVID, I was craving that, not attention, but just craving that atmosphere of teaching classes. And I had joined a local gym once things had opened to start teaching. But what I found was every time that day came up, I was really sad. I didn't want to go. And I thought to myself, well, this is something that's always brought me joy. If I keep doing it, it's going to bring me joy. Until I sat down with a therapist of mine and she had me do the schedule audit. And the very first thing that came to my mind was teaching classes. I said, it is not joyful for me anymore. And I immediately put in my notice right after that. And the weight just fell off of my shoulders. And it's just allowing yourself and coming to terms with some things that just have to go. And after you do it for yourself, is there things with your kids too? You know, did you sign them up for soccer and they hate going and they're crying all the time? And maybe it's time to admit, you know, maybe my kid is not a soccer player. Is it worth the stress? Is it worth the stress of the drive? You know, some things we just got to let go. Next one is, if it's not a 10, it's a no. So again, think about all the things we're invited to. Barbecues, sports, birthday parties, happy hours. I mean, you name it. We could fill our schedule every single day if we wanted to. But to really hone down on decreasing the stress is that if someone asks you to do something, or your family or your kid, and it's not 100% yes, it's got to be a no. I started doing this and being very, very protective with my time. And I was a little nervous at first because I'm very much a people pleaser. I want to say yes to as many things that I can, and I want to be there for people, but I knew that deep down inside of me, I am actually an introvert. And so I need alone time. And so for me, starting to say no things and knowing that I do not owe anybody a reason why was huge. So once we can start to do this, I promise you that weight is going to come off a little bit easier. And next one is setting boundaries. This goes for adults and kids. There are things that, again, we need to protect ourselves from. And we call, you know, if it's a people, I want to call these people the vampires. You know, if there's people in your lives that are energy suckers, you got to set up a boundary and let them not come into that space. And again, know when to say no. Same thing with our kids with, you know, if we're telling them not crossing the street, you know, when they're 1 year old and 2 years old, we start by setting boundaries with them right away when they're young. So we got to keep continuing to keep those boundaries tight. Next slide. I also just want to point out a service on Healthier Together that is so amazing, that is free for you guys. Anna, you know, briefly talked about Healthier Together quickly, but there's a program called Will, and it is all about stress relief and to increase resiliency, but there are specific courses on here for parenting. So there's 91 sessions alone that are for family, and there was about 55 sessions for parenting. I listed a couple examples here, but you know, I understand that not everyone has a ton of time, right? We're busy. We just talked about that. But some of these sessions, they range from 1 minute all the way to 20 minutes, and you can pick what you want to do. And maybe you have 1 minute to learn some little trick today or some little tip that's going to help you throughout the day. So I highly suggest that you check these out. And then lastly, you know, as I close up my slides, just a couple things, but there's just a few things I wrote that kids want to know at the end of the day, but I think as adults, we want to know this too, is that number one, that they want to feel that they're loved unconditionally. And I want to feel loved too, right? I want to feel loved by my family, but really kids do, and they need that so desperately, especially in their younger years. Secondly, kids don't want a perfect parent. They want a present parent. And I think that this was a big thing for me too, this last couple years, is when the world shut down, how many more things we did as a family. We were just talking about this last night, that we got on our bikes all the time, every day, and went for bike rides where there was no cell phone, you know, there was no sitting around. And, you know, so just to ask yourself, again, you are not expected to be perfect. There is not one person in the world that is perfect, but is your kids getting your attention when they deserve it? You know, are you sitting watching a family movie, but yet scrolling on your phone at the same time? Is your work taking priority over that family time? So just little simple things to look at. And then lastly is, you know, they all want and need boundaries. We talked about this briefly, but so do adults, you know. So how can we set those proper boundaries, you know, knowing that our kids are not going to say, thanks, mom, for not letting me sit on my iPad all day, every day. You know, they're not going to say that, but maybe 20 years from now, 10 years from now, they're going to look back and say, okay, now I can see why, you know, why you put those limits on me in my younger years. And that's truly going to make them feel loved and that you care. So hopefully you learned a couple things here as Isaac takes it over from here.
And I'll briefly just interject. We had a question, suggestions for an exit strategy if you made a commitment but now need to back out. I think this is something that, I mean, I'm experiencing in my life right now. Is like I committed to going to a friend event, to go to some brunch, and the time came around and I did not want to go to that. And people are more understanding than we give them credit for, and saying, I simply said, I'm really sorry, I can't make it. I'm just not feeling up to it today. I apologize for any inconvenience that my lack of presence will cause. So, and they were like, okay, sweet. Thanks for letting me know. And I think the people in your life, you'd want them to be supportive of those boundaries that you're setting. And that might be a good time to reevaluate. Maybe they are, like Amanda mentioned, those vampires, the energy suckers. And if they don't appreciate that you're setting those boundaries and that you need to take this time for yourself or for your family, then maybe that might be something you need to reevaluate, having that person in your life in the way that they are currently. So that's my suggestion. If anyone else has any suggestions, please throw them in the chat as well.
Okay. Well, good stuff so far, team. This is amazing. So hello, everyone. It's great to be here in front of a screen with you all. I'm Isaac, a well-being specialist for Healthier Together. A lot of what I'm going to be sharing with you today revolves around the only constant in life, change, especially in my case, the change of being a first-time parent. I would love to share with you all some strategies on how my family keeps communication open so we can fully embrace that change. And I will also touch on at the end some resources offered by Medtronic for family support. So here is my family, my beautiful, resilient wife, Wendy, and my loving social butterfly 15-month-old daughter, Janie. You know, a lot of joy in these pictures. Janie could swing in a swing for until her parents' arms fall off. Next slide. I thought it'd be necessary to share with you all a brief overview of how our past few years have looked, because it's really shows the theme of change. Since 2020, obviously the whole world went through a gigantic change with the pandemic. My wife decided to end her job as a high school Spanish teacher to pursue graduate school, which she has now had to be delayed, and it's doing it now. And yes, she is fluent in Spanish and can speak both languages very well, and has to communicate to me, who can barely speak one language effectively. And then our condo floods, which had us living in 3 different Airbnbs. We moved twice to 2 different states. In that process, I had 2 different jobs, started 2 different jobs. And the biggest change of them all was our sweet Janie. Let's see. So, and the purpose of the slide isn't for everyone to just feel bad for us or whatever, but these events gave us a huge, enormous lesson on how life just never stops with the changes. And we wanted to develop some ideas to help ourselves to remain present and joyous through the changes of our life. So the change from being non-parents to parents was the greatest change we've ever experienced together. much greater than any of those other bulleted items that I had in the previous slide. We weren't expecting such a shift in our lives, no matter how many people told us this. And that's why I'd like to share the strategies that helped us as first-time parents. And maybe this can help you if you're a first-time parent, you're an expecting first-time parent. Also, I think it's just valuable information for couples and experienced parents as well, because I wish we would have started some of these things sooner rather than later, which had us learning on the fly. So the first thing that we did, and this was the biggest thing that we did, and it kind of touches on a lot of what Amanda was saying, create a weekly rhythm. And we like the idea of the word rhythm a lot more than a weekly schedule. Schedule doesn't sound as fun and as fluid as the word rhythm. We always like to say our weekly rhythm is a living and breathing document that is not set in stone and can be adjusted. As we know, change is constant, and the rhythm helps us become more flexible and open in our communication through all the changes. The rhythm helped us greatly with creating a routine that allows us to have family time, having time alone with just Janie. So Janie time with me, Janie and Wendy time, time together with just the two of us, with Wendy and I. And then the big one that doesn't get, that really was lacking, was personal and individual time. As far as the weekly rhythm, a good place to start with creating this is to write out some activities or hobbies that you truly value. This will require some prioritizing. I really liked what Amanda said about if it's not a 10, it's a no. So a lot of prioritizing, compromising, self-reflecting, because you're not going to be able to get everything that you'd want to get in. Some questions that we asked ourselves was, as you can see on the slide here, it's basically like the same question, just worded differently. What are some things that you feel you need to do or experience on a weekly, monthly basis that add value to your life? And this was the big one for me, and keep you functioning at a high level, right? That I can still feel enjoyment in life and all that. Another question, what activities add fulfillment to your life? Or very simply, what activities do you feel like you cannot go without? An example for me was exercising consistently. Because we wrote out our rhythm, I can now look forward to these specific days at these specific times on when I know I can exercise. And if something comes up, like let's say Wendy gets asked to go to a movie with a friend, she can already look multiple steps ahead and say something to me like, hey, I would really like to go to this movie with this friend, but it's during one of your exercise times. I have personal time on Friday that you know of. You can have 2 hours on that Friday to exercise rather than that night to exercise. And there you go, like the communication's there. It's a very simple process of rather than, hey, I want to go to this movie, and me being like, well, what am I going to work out? You know, and it eliminates those petty little arguments that can happen in couples, especially for first-time exhausted parents. So overall, the rhythm allows you to have priorities fulfilled and remain in the moments of life without wondering what the next thing you have to do is. Some other strategies that we did, just shared virtual calendar. This has been something that we've been doing for a while now. And it's just a really easy way to, the communication is right in front of you. You can pull it up on your phone and be like, okay, this is what we have going on this week or this weekend. And it's just general organization for upcoming events and if something needs to be changed on the weekly rhythm, you can see it right there and address that issue. And of course, everyone loves chores, you know, so we did a chore draft, and this has been one of the best things we've done as well, is we wrote out all the household chores. And then we had a draft night where we each get to pick our favorite chores, and can be adjusted accordingly if we need to. it holds the other person accountable for those chores and gives ownership to those chores rather than letting those little things build up, like the dish, you haven't done the dishes in 3 days or something like that. It helps with the organization, the flow, the rhythm, so to speak. And I will say, adjust as needed. You can do a monthly draft, quarterly draft, every 6 months, yearly. I will say that we've been doing this since 2019, and we have only had one draft since that initial one. So we're pretty stuck on our chores. So weekly check-ins, the last strategy, this was a big one for us. And it doesn't have to be this long thing at all. It could be just like a quick 5 minutes of checking in with your partner and just seeing how they're doing. And a few things that we like to say in our check-ins are, what are our gratefuls for the week? Just any general grateful that we have. Praises. What is something that you were really made you feel loved that your partner did, or what is something you thought they did really well? Just to like gas them up a little bit. And then obviously just short things coming up, but a lot of that is already taken care of as far as like we have our weekly rhythm and our shared virtual calendar. So it's always just a brief touch on those. And then for if there's like big events or not so big events, anything like that, and what can I do to help to support you this week, to let you know you're not alone in this, and to make you feel loved. So that is the strategies. Right here we have some resources available to Medtronic employees. We got our MEAP, Medtronic Employee Assistance Program, our Medtronic Family Care Benefits with Healthier Together. Another valuable resource that is this app called Ginger that's available. It's on-demand digital therapy and psychiatry, which is a amazing thing that we can have nowadays. And then also Will, which was touched on a little earlier. And that is all for me today. I will turn the mic over to the one, the only Kyle Rains to talk to you about upcoming events.
Thanks, Isaac. Gosh, you really put me on a pedestal again. But nonetheless, yes, my name is Kyle. I'm actually a upcoming parent. Wife is due in August. So this has been, for me, really great information. Is going to be something that I'm going to keep at like the top forefront of my my files and whatnot, so I can revisit this once I get to that time of actually being a first-time parent. So a lot of Isaac's stuff kind of was really eye-opening and kind of resonated with, oh, I could probably do that in the future. But stuff from Laura, stuff from Amanda as well, really sank in as well. So thank you guys for sharing your stories, some of your strategies and tips, and your perspectives as well. But in looking into June, we have some great events and other opportunities for Medtronic employees to engage with Healthier Together. First off, number one, Global Running Day. Global Running Day happens June 1st and the 2nd. Excellent opportunity to take care of your mind and your body through physical activity. So join the challenge. Comment in the chat feature, maybe post a picture. There's an opportunity there for reward points and maybe even recognize points depending on your region. Our Healthy Habit Challenge for June will be Clean Space. So an opportunity to maybe declutter an area in your house, maybe your desk in the office, whether it's at home or on site, depending on where you're at. So look for that challenge, an opportunity for double Healthier Together points during that week, June 20th through the 26th. The monthly fitness challenge as well. Isaac has created this challenge, a great one for those that might be worried about their current low back health or discomfort, pain, or just wanting to be proactive about the muscles surrounding the low back and through the hips. So you can definitely look forward to this challenge, an opportunity to strengthen those muscles, work on some of that mobility, flexibility, range of motion, those muscles, and just keep that lower back healthy. And then finally, our next wellness webinar. This is one that, as if I remember correctly, a lot of people were asking for this after we did our first sleep webinar. So once you get the slides here, if you'd like to revisit that first sleep webinar, you can click that link and that'll take you right to our recorded version, the whole 45-minute webinar. But yes, we will be talking about getting back to sleep and staying asleep. So different strategies, maybe some tips and tricks on helping you get back to sleep and staying asleep. For those that just have those times or moments or evenings that just you feel tired, you don't feel rested, and you know that it's because you can't get back to sleep or you can't stay asleep. So look forward to that towards the end of June. And then as always, our weekly live offerings, guided meditations, flex breaks, fit breaks, even into our YouTube channel, whether it's workouts, guided meditations that are pre-recorded, different things like that. This slide has all of those links where you can add them to your calendar. So that way you can join when you can, when you're available, or the links that say watch here or visit here, where you can visit and watch the on-demand options for those different categories.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. That concludes today's webinar. Once you get this slide deck sent out to you, you can click where it says earn points for attending here. You can fill out a form to earn some Healthier Together reward points. If you feel inclined to, please share one takeaway in the chat, something that you're going to try to maybe implement that you learned today. And then a reminder to join our Yammer community. If you have not done so already, this is where you can find invites for upcoming webinars, resources, challenges. So please join that community there. And then we've listed our contact information as well as our Yammer community and YouTube channel. So please let us know if you have any questions. We can definitely reach out to you directly. And thank you so much for joining. And we will see you on June 28th, I think it was, for our sleep webinar. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.